In this video, I'm going to show you more examples on how you can write an equation, but particularly how you can write an equation that's either parallel or perpendicular to another line. So in this first case here, in part A, it says it needs to be parallel to this equation that passes through this point. So we got quite a few information here. Like one, I have a point, so I always have x and y's when I'm given a coordinate point. And also, if I want something to be parallel, that means it needs to have the same slope. So that means I need to recycle the slope that they gave me. Let me use a less thicker highlighter. So I know that my slope that I need to use to create this equation, it has to be 3 over 4 because it needs to be the same. And I have a coordinate point, so I have x and y values. So that's a lot of information. And I need to make the equation of a line in slope-intercept form. So I need a slope, which I already have. I don't have a y-intercept. That's the caveat. And a lot of the times, I want to tell you the most common mistake is a lot of people will use the y value in the coordinate as their y-intercept, and that is incorrect. Remember, all y-intercepts have a 0 when it comes to the x-coordinate part. So if that doesn't say 0, you cannot assume that this is the x-intercept or the y-intercept. All right, back to this problem here. So you have the slope. I can plug that in. I have the coordinate, so I can plug in an x, plug in a y, and solve for b, my y-intercept. And so in this case here, I have my 4 is my y. My slope here is 3 over 4. My x here is 1, and I'm solving for b. So 1 times 3 over 4 is still 3 over 4. So that's pretty easy. And I'll bring everything else down. I'll need to subtract the negative 3 over 4 over. So another fraction here that I need to take care of. But no worries, we're going to practice through fractions. So 4 minus 3 over 4. Now you can change 3 over 4 to a decimal if that makes it a little bit more comfortable for you. But I'm going to show you how to do this without using decimals. What to do to subtract a fraction is you always put the fraction, make both of them a fraction. So if this is 4, you can always put a whole number over 1 to make it into a fraction. And then to subtract, you need common denominators. So what I'm going to do is make the bottom here, that's a 1, that's a 4. They can both be a 4 if I multiply this 1 by 4. So I am going to multiply, see if I can grab a highlighter. I'm going to multiply this side, the bottom, and the top by 4. And that will allow the bottom, the denominator, to be a 4 now. So 4 over 4. Or sorry, not 4 over 4. 4 times 4 is 16 over 4 minus 3 over 4. Now, if the denominator is the same, I can subtract the tops from each other. So 16 minus 3 is 13 over 4. And I can't reduce this fraction because 4 doesn't divide into 13 easily. So in this case, I am going to now use this as my intercept. So I have my b, I have my slope. I can plug everything in now to make my formula. So my equation here is going to end up being 3 over 4x plus 13 over 4, which was my y-intercept. And there we go. All right, now that we've had a lot of practice with using this here, the slope-intercept form to find the b. So in this method that I've been using in the past videos, what I'm doing is I'm plugging in my slope, I'm plugging in my x and y, and solving for b. In the other formula here that we haven't used yet, let's use it. So the other formula that we haven't used is y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. It looks really hard to use, but this is what we call the point slope form, and it's actually a nice one to use if you already have a point, like we already have a point, and you already have a slope. So in this case, if you want a line that's perpendicular to this equation, what you have to do is ask yourself, okay, this equation slope is 4. If you want a slope that's perpendicular to it, you're going to need the opposite sign. So it needs to be opposite and reciprocal. Reciprocal means that it's flipped. So in this case, you're going to need a negative, but not a negative 4. If you write this as a fraction, be 4 over 1, the reciprocal of that is 1 over 4. So if it's a whole number, you just put a 1 underneath it and then flip it. So in this case, 1 over 4. So this is the slope I need to make it perpendicular. And I have the coordinate 7 and 1. So I have the x and y values to work with. So anytime you're given a slope and a point, this one is great to use as a formula because it will get you to this equation if you simplify. So in this case, I'm going to show you how you can use this formula. A lot of students will just ignore this one. If you're just comfortable using this formula instead, that's fine. But to use this one here, you would plug in your y1, which would be -1. By the way, these are your x1 and y1. These y's and x's, you don't plug anything in, just the y1 and x1s. So my m here is negative 1/4. That's a 4 there. X minus x1, which is 7. And then from there, what I'm going to do is try to clean up a few things. Like this, I can make into a plus sign since there are 2 negatives here. The -4, I can go ahead and distribute that into the parentheses, making -1/4 x minus, or actually positive, since those two are negatives, it becomes a positive. And so in this case here, this becomes 7 over 4. Okay, from there, I need to subtract over 1. So I'm going to subtract over 1. Y is now going to equal -1 over 4x. So if I subtract over 1, I can always make this into a fraction, right? And so in this case, I can write over 1 over 1. Or if I want to make the same denominator here, I would just multiply the top and bottom by 4. So in this case, 1 is actually can be written as 4 over 4, right? Because 4 over 4 is really just 1 if you divide or you simplify. So now that the denominator is the same, I can subtract the top 7 minus 4 is 3. So this is really 3 over 4. I'm going to bring down the negative 1 over 4x and the y, bring that down. And I've simplified this down to the y equals mx plus b format. So once you have y by itself and you've tried to combine as much as you can on the other side, the right side, you're done. So here is my equation. All right. So that's it for this part of the video. I hope that helped. Bye, guys.